Hey, it's Keith from Outlaw Speed Shop, and welcome to this episode where I take a Hot Wheels Ford Maverick and I try to make it cool. Although, you know what? Mavericks are pretty freaking cool. I think they're very underrated as a muscle car, and they have a lot of potential. And this one is a prime example, I think. So, obviously, as always, if you like what you see, make sure you subscribe and don't forget to ring the bell. So I want to say I had a blast building this car. Hot Wheels did a good job on the casting. It's pretty realistic, plastic base. So all my builds start with the wheels. And I usually screw myself probably more times than not because I want a certain wheel, and it takes a lot of screwing around to make that wheel work with what it is I'm trying to put it on. This case, it wasn't too bad. So I find the wheels that I want, and I've got quite the selection thanks to Treads, which is where I get all my wheels. Once in a while I steal them off stuff, but for the most part I got a pretty good collection. That's what they look like. Obviously the wheels are, not a perfect fit because of the axle lengths, but that can be fixed later. But I do have to grind a little bit of the inside of the fender wells to get it to fit. The wheel diameter is slightly it fits in the wheel well, but you need a little bit of clearance. So I'm just going to clearance it with my barrel sander on my Dremel tool, and it allows the rear wheels to roll perfectly. Again, sometimes you have to finagle things. This one wasn't too bad. Takes a couple trial and errors, but you can see the bare metal there. My big ass hands in the way. I hate putting the camera overhead. It's just annoying, and I can't work with the camera directly in front of me because then I'm tripping over myself. And anyways, but I'm using the barrel sander. Then I strip it with the citrus strip. And again, I think these are ideal muscle cars. They're very underrated. You drop a 302 in here with some 289 4-valve heads, you've got a screamer. These things are amazing. I just think they really look cool. So obviously I want something sticking out of the hood. I don't even know what I took this motor off of, but I found it kicking around. It's already been cut up, the bottom half. So it's pretty much just the scoop and the intake. So obviously I'm going to mark pretty much what I think the clearance is. You have to be careful sometimes. Like this one, it's got the post like right there. So I'm pretty much going to go almost up to the post. I've had to have some where I've actually had to cut the post out because it's where the motor should be, and it would look stupid any other way. But I lucked out in this case. So I'm going to take my drift punch, and I'm just going to put 6 holes or 6 markings so I can drill 6 holes. I could just drill 1 hole and I could use the jeweler's saw, but for something like this I find this is pretty simple. I drill holes for a living a lot, so it's not that bad. If you mark it just right, you can get them all knocked out and have plenty of room, and you don't have a lot of cutting or filing to do. In this case, pretty much once I drill my 6 holes, I could just rotate my drill around a little bit, knock out the rest, and then all I got to do is a little bit of filing. This actually took me maybe 15 minutes total with the filing to get it perfect. But it also works with a jeweler's saw. I just decided not to. You can see I'm kind of whoring it out right there. Always clean up so you don't put your hands in the metal like I do constantly. Then I just take my flat file and clean it out. Then it's a little bit of trial and error of trying to determine how much of the engine you want sticking out, the angle of the engine. So because you're not going to see the bottom half, you can trim or cut or file or do whatever you got to do if the engine isn't quite perfect. In this case, I've got it where I want it. Now I have to make sure, and I've screwed myself this way so many times, fit everything first. The motor fits the way I want it to, but now I got to put the chassis or the centerpiece for the interior, and you can see that it won't fit. Mainly because there's some tabs that stick up on the interior piece that I've got to trim away because it does hit the motor. Even though I've narrowed the motor a little bit on the inside, the interior frame rails, I guess we could call them, hit it. So I've got to trim. You can see those 2 tabs that stick up. I got to trim those out of the way, and that gives me, I'd say at this point, enough clearance to be able to do what I need to do and get everything to fit. You know, I constantly am trying to, you know, remember as I build not to get excited, like, oh, straight to paint. I need to, you know, fit everything, and not just fit, oh yeah, the interior fits, but snap the chassis on too and make sure everything fits, because I'm telling you, it sucks when everything's painted to have to start screwing around and trying to make things fit. But you can see right there, looking pretty good. So now that I'm confident in everything that I've cut, I can start using my wire wheel attachment for my Dremel. I've got a little bit around the windshield to file. Other than that, this casting is a surprisingly decent shape. It is I believe it's the Grabber edition, or at least that's what it's supposed to be or look like, with the 2 little scoops on the side of the hood. Which again, I think these, you know, Mavericks are a very underrated car in my opinion. But you can't go by me, because I also like the Mustang too. So I think those will look cool with the 302 dropped in them. So they're underrated. So anyways, I've got the 2 pieces primed with Tamiya fine gray primer. I painted the interior black, because the grill in the rear piece was black anyways. And then black is going to go with my interior color. With my exterior color, excuse me. It's a Sunday, I'm tired, and I might have had a couple things to drink today. Anyways, the splash paints that I have, I'm trying to do something a little, I always try to experiment. I've got all these different sparkle, or technically they're metal flakes, but they call them sparkle paints. They're all different thicknesses. They have different size flakes, and some of them are duplicates, but I'm trying to find the one that's already been opened. So again, you can play around with however you want. Now I'm painting the chassis because the front and the rear of this car that sits underneath the bumper, like the valance panels, are supposed to be painted the same color as the car. So that's why I'm doing it on this. The metal flake that I'm laying down is very silver, and I'm putting it over the gray primer. You can primer white, you can primer black. Anything that you change to the base of this is going to totally change the shade of the colors that you end up putting on. So again, I'm experimenting. I don't have a black primer, so I just went with the gray. I could have gone with white. Again, it just adds to the depth and changes the shade of what it is you put on. So I'm putting this stuff on pretty heavy because I want a heavy metallic. And I'm kind of going with like a 70s look to this to some degree. So that's pretty much, and you can't see it on the camera, so I don't know why I'm showing it to you. But it just looks silver or dull aluminum. But I'm going to go with a candy apple red paint. So being a candy, the more you put on, the more the shade changes. No different than a Spectra Flame paint, which is essentially a candy anyways. So I'm putting on a light tack coat. And again, the splash paints, I swear by them. I love them. I've put this shit on pretty heavy. I've never run it. So I am just going to put a light tack coat on, which is going to allow me to have subsequent coats that I can add a little heavier each time. So, you know, tack coat, then a medium tack coat, then a very, very heavier coat, then a full coat, and then a deep, thick coat. But you can stop at any point. And as you're painting, and once you get a little further on in the painting process, you'll see the shades start to change. Obviously, it doesn't look red right here. If I put on, 6 coats, I'll have a really deep red paint. If I stop at 5 coats, which is about where I stopped, I think I only show you 3, mine looks a little bit more orangey. It's not quite, especially with the metallic silver underneath. Again, how you layer things and what colors you use obviously change things. I could have gone with a gold underneath this and had a black primer, and it would have a completely different look. So this was, I didn't have anything in particular in mind. I just kind of paint until it looks good and then I stop. In this case, I didn't want to go full red. And I got to this stage right about where I'm at. And it has more of a orangey, bronze, copperish, I don't know, go by me, I'm colorblind anyways, but excuse me, it's not red, but it's in the ballpark, but it's more orangey. So anyways, I'm babbling. So here you can see I'm putting it on pretty thick, and you can actually see it being glossy. It won't stay that way. It dries. This is a base coat, clear coat system. So when it dries, it's going to be a matte finish. So there you can kind of see it's definitely it's got a little sheen to it, but it's flat, or matte, I guess you could say. So I'm going to do all the bumpers, because obviously I painted everything, and all my details. I have to remake some axles or cut them and make axle tubes for the wheels, and that's a process in and of itself. You start by cutting them in half, and I save everything. I have every wheel and axle I've ever pulled off, so if I had screwed these up, I always have axles to spare, and they always come in handy because sometimes when you cut them, they fly everywhere, and if you're not gripping it just right, you can't find it, and instead of spending an hour looking, I can just grab another set of wheels. So I'm using a 1/16 K&S brass tubing. I'm going to mark it off with my pen. I'm going to cut it with my cutoff wheel that is obscenely large. My small one broke. And once that's done, I can just grind off the end, which again I highly recommend you don't do unless you have experience and you're confident in the amount of digits you have. The end will peen over a little bit. You just use your pick to open it up again so the axle will fit in there. And that's pretty much it. You're almost good to go here. I make axle tubes for just about everything in every video, so I'm not going to bore you with every single step of that process. Just make sure when you cut your axles in half that the size is enough where one side doesn't push the other side out because they're too long. And that's about it, really, as far as that goes. Obviously, the axle tube is a different diameter than the actual axle, so you're going to have to trim and cut a little bit. You can kind of see right here, I'm going to open up the hole where the axle would fit in. There's no good way to do this. It's kind of a guessing game and an experience thing. I just kind of open it up a little bit, then I'll take a file. One of my flat files is actually the right thickness, so once I can put that in there, it works out perfectly, and I know it's going to be good. The hard part about this is making sure it's straight, because it's very easy to glue that axle tube in there and have it be cockeyed, and whether it be up and down or left and right is that flat file I was talking about that you can't see me doing. There you go. You kind of see me doing it. But it's easy to make it go cockeyed, so you just have to pay attention. I usually set it up on something, and that way I can look at it from all angles and make sure when I glue it in there, it's perfectly aligned with the car and the chassis, and so on and so forth. So obviously at this point, now that I did a little bit of chrome work on the door handles and the headlights, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to take, because this is a two-step process, I'm going to take my 2K Clear. It's a 4-to-1 mixture. And I've had this, I bought this, God, I think a year ago. And I'm still only like at half a can. So the stuff lasts forever. I think I paid $60 all in with the hardener and the clear coat. And it's lasted me, I don't know how many cars I've done. I lost count. So I think I had to buy hardener twice because I left the cap off and it hardened. So anyways, here's the chassis. I painted the rest of it black. I left the painted stuff, obviously. And then my interior piece. Everything's going to sit in there just right because I pre-fit it already. I got my motor. And obviously my glass and my body, which you can see has a nice heavy 4 coats of 2K Clear on top of it. And you can see that it's, I don't know, the camera colors are always different, but it's definitely orangey, more on the orange spectrum. So anyways, this is what I started with, which I think is pretty cool to begin with. This is what I ended up with. Stick around, I got a couple videos of different angles, and I have a bunch of different photos of it. I think it came out really cool. Hope you guys like it. I will catch you on the next one.